All
I
right.
wish there was a third seed, guy. That would be.
Too bad. UFC 200 recap. Hasan Piker was here for one of the fights.
I was
Misha
here
Tate.
for the Misha Tate
For
fight.
the only fight that
Misha Tate
actually
fight.
had excitement.
The Misha Tate destroyed. The Misha Tate got destroyed. It was terrible.
Yeah,
Well, that's a wonderful analysis.
I was gonna-
Would you go into more detail?
Okay. I've never seen anyone when they say she hit him with everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, she did.
That's
No,
exactly
but
what happened.
So the reason, even though that's not probably how we're going to title this, right? That was easily the most enjoyable fight for me, right? There was enjoyable moments of other fights. Brock Lesnar's fight, we'll get into detail. It's what you expect from Brock. Good wrestler, good ground and pound. But Nunez, however you want to say it, I warned everyone before the fight happened. We were sitting there and I was like, she's going to come in and just strike. That's what she's got. She's got a great jab. She's great with her body as well at defending. And I think that Misha Tate looked a little ill-prepared.
It looked exactly like Holly Holm versus
Yeah.
Misha Tate, where Holly Holm looked ill-prepared to fight Misha
I
Tate.
don't know if she was ill prepared. She just looked frazzled.
It also just means that there's no outright bantamweight women's champion.
The belt's
Like,
changing
Misha
hands.
Tate's held it for one fight. Holly Holmes held it for one fight. Ronda Rousey's held it for like one or two fights.
And do you know who
Now
it
Amanda
makes-
Nunes has held it for now one fight.
And do you know who this is perfect scenario for? Or she would just get her act together and come back is Ronda Rousey,
Ronda
because there's
Rousey,
no
yeah.
outright dominant champion as a possibility
Well,
there.
it looks
but
like what's her name who fell on the preliminary card. Pena beat Kat Zingano,
Yeah.
so Pena's gonna now fight
Nunez.
Nunes.
Do
Yeah.
you think this is good or bad for the UFC women?
I
in
like
general?
I like the
cycling.
rotation. I
Do
like
you
the
think-
rotation.
but the Ronda Rousey thing was Ronda Rousey was a showstopper. Like,
Yeah.
everyone came in because she was so dominant.
No, it's not as good as that.
Yeah.
No, I put for the card
It's not
and for
as
the
good of a
sport.
show,
It's
yeah,
not good of
yeah.
a show, but it's still interesting to watch. But the next thing, I think, in terms of enjoyment, right, I was thoroughly enjoyed by that. Edgar Aldo, I found it enjoyable, right? Because Aldo, anything's enjoyable when you see such a great champion like Jose
I
Aldo
lost money on it.
You lost money, so that might sway your bias. But the way Aldo approached McGregor's fight, it was hard to watch. Even though I'm a McGregor fan, Aldo coming in, he's a worthy champion, one of the best in the industry, and he came in and just looked a little naive and juvenile against McGregor, and came in and just got knocked out
Well, he
immediately.
ran
But he was
right
so
at him.
prepared for this fight. So prepared.
Well,
They knew
that's
exactly
what
how to
Jose
to
Aldo
tackle
looked
this.
like for 8 years.
Yeah.
That Jose Aldo.
He's only 29. That's the crazy
I know,
thing.
defensively perfect almost in every single way. He denied every single takedown attempt from Frankie Edgar. And then Edgar didn't stopped with his leg kicks.
Yeah.
He stopped working the leg and the body.
I don't think they were doing
and
damage
then-
either.
No, I don't think they were doing damage either.
Yeah.
Also, however, if you do that over 4 rounds, maybe it will. Maybe you can get a takedown out of that. However, that just stopped. He abandoned it after the second round, and then he just got beat up.
Yeah.
Like, I get he was bloodier than Aldo because he got his eye cut early.
Yeah.
However, all those strikes had a lot more on them than any of Edgar's. And I get those combos they can get in. He can sit in the pocket and try to start fighting his way out of it against
Yeah.
Aldo, like he has against other fighters. However, what he was doing to Aldo looked like he was making no difference.
Aldo just looked fresh, like in between
Very
rounds,
fresh.
standing up, not really heavy breathing.
Yeah.
And Edgar is a resilient fighter. Like Joe Rogan talks about how no one takes more damage in the ring than Frankie Edgar. He can go in and take punches. He's a warrior. But Jose Aldo, at the end, fans are booing, and I will get to the fans when I talk about Cormier, blah, blah, blah.
The
But
fans
they were
are
booing
pathetic.
everything, but Aldo knew exactly what his job was to do. He needs to put himself back out there, put him in the direct firing line for Conor McGregor if McGregor wants to come back down,
Agree.
whatever way the result works out. But
agree.
the next fight, Brock, before we get to Cormier, or do we want to say Brock for last? I think
Well,
we'll-
I want to say Brock for last because I want to actually boo the pathetic fans that
Yes.
are at the... So here's what I found about the UFC fans. There are a lot of fake fans out
Yeah,
there.
very true.
There are a lot of pathetic fake fans. And, like, look, I've had a few, by the way. Couple beers.
That's
So,
why
relax.
we're sweating.
I don't
Very
mean-
hot in here.
I don't
That's
mean...
why
so
Hasan's
hot
wearing
in
a vest. Don't
But,
take this any other way.
However, I'm going on the attack because those who really thought they had the gall to boo Daniel Cormier. I get that Anderson Silva is one of the greatest of all time, and they cheered Anderson Silva, even though he put on a pathetic display because he's 42 years old.
And it's 2 days' notice.
And it's on
Whatever.
2 days'
Yeah.
notice. What do you expect out of him? But you give him cheers and not Cormier. Cormier, who has fought and prepared and trained basically his entire legacy,
Yeah.
pending on John Jones, who cheats his way out of not fighting in UFC 200. Not
He
obviously.
didn't cheat his way out of it.
Well, he cheated.
I mean, he cheated.
He cheated.
But he
He cheated.
made it seem like he
I know. I'm not saying he cheated. I didn't mean to say out of it, but I'm saying is that you want to boo somebody, you boo John Jones. And I've also found that those who sit there and boo Cormier because he might not be the most exciting fighter in the world, that's pathetic. That was your main event, was Cormier. One half of your main event is there, and you're booing him, which means you were only there to see John Jones, and that is sad.
Yeah, but I'm going to echo
What if they were
exactly.
big Silva fans?
Well, they might have been as well.
You're
That's another
allowed
point.
to
That's
be
fine.
big Silva fans, but you
just
can't
don't
boo
So,
Daniel Cormier.
I tweeted it out, right, and I was hoping to gauge a reaction to try and understand. And what I got was a lot of people supporting the thoughts on. I said it was a disgrace, the fact that they're booing a guy
That's
who
what I
you
was
see how
echoing
distraught
that.
he was when this fight got taken away from him again.
And he
He
still
lost a
fought.
lot of money, by the way. Don't take this away for how much money he lost out on compared to John Bones Jones. But the thing is, there were people telling me that because he took the fight, because Anderson Silva took the fight on 2 days' notice and he's old, that Daniel Cormier should have walked in and just demolished him. That's not how Cormier fights, by the way. Here, fans of the sport.
That's
Have you ever
never
watched-
how
it's
he's
not,
fought.
He's not going to go out and change his fighting style just because you want to put him to put on a show. He's going to go out and win because that's the most important thing. Nate Diaz took a fight with 7 days' notice, and McGregor lost that fight and ended up having to go and rethink things. Daniel Cormier is thinking about his future. He's not going to go out there and throw punches. He started throwing leg kicks, and I was thinking, what are you doing? Like, why are you
Take him to the
adjusting?
ground, yes.
Just take him to the ground. That's how Cormier fights. So fans that were booing that, you're right, Jason. You're fake fans. You haven't watched Daniel Cormier. It's the same fans that watched Mayweather Pacquiao and were like, this is a disgrace. I don't know why I'm watching this. That's how they fight.
That's how they fight. So you should have expected.
Yeah.
Okay, on to Lesnar. So
The
Cormier
biggest
was-
man in the world, and Haas may disagree, but I don't think you will.
Yeah,
How big is Brock Lesnar?
Brock Lesnar
Brock
would kick
Lesnar's the
your
biggest
ass.
man in the world. Yeah,
Would
I
you-
would.
would you
Why would I
fight-
ever? It's
I
like
don't know
him
why.
against
I'm trying to
think.
him against the mountain, dude.
Will you get a sword tattoo on your chest?
No, what am I? I'm not. I can't pull that off.
Will you
I
fight
can't-
Brock
I would-
Lesnar?
There is absolutely no amount of money in the world that would ever allow me to fight Brock Lesnar, even if it was fake wrestling.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think
even
you
if it
should-
was fake wrestling, I'd be like, I'm not gonna do that.
It's-
He's
well,
fucking absolute.
He's surface
beast,
size.
dude.
It's a surface size from like he's a massive guy, but see from like his lower chest up. It's
What is
just
it,
you can
two
it's-
NCAA championships, right? Like he's
Wrestling.
Yes, yes.
yeah. So he's like a legitimate, professional athlete.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And, I mean, aside from like
Can-
doing, WWF, which is
Can you see me? WWE.
WWE. Sorry,
The old school.
Old school.
Are you doing like wall sits right now?
I
Is that
am
why?
currently wall sitting.
Can
I'm
you see
currently
me?
wall
Can
sitting.
you see Haas
because I'm
now?
trying to be just like Brock Lesnar.
Can
one
you
day.
see Haas now?
If I wall sit for the rest of my life, maybe when I'm like 64, like going forward from this point on, maybe I'll get to Brock Lesnar's level.
Be impressive. You actually are wall sitting. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
I haven't stopped wall sitting.
How did
think
you
it
think
was,
of the fight?
It was the most okay. So the expectation was Hunt came in as a major favorite.
Yeah.
Because Brock Lesnar, to this day, has never learned how to strike,
Yeah.
and he probably never will. However, Lesnar worked his strengths, took him to the ground, and when he had him in the ground in the first round and the third round, it was dominant.
Yeah.
There was no chance for Hunt. When Hunt had him standing up, there was no chance for Lesnar. So Hunt probably won round 2 in most people's books, but 1 and 3 were overwhelmingly in favor of Lesnar.
Okay, can we ask the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
And I'm not referring to just Brock, but
just you?
steroid usage. Like, what's up with the...
Well, the big thing was that USADA
The big thing was
and,
Brock.
and
Brock got a
Dana
got a
White
little bit of a
and
pass, like-
UFC, like they were like,
Uh-huh.
oh, well, we'll screen you through a little bit quicker, something like that. But
No. It was. I
don't
believe
know
it
if-
was. I believe it was what, like they didn't do the preliminary screenings that they normally would have done and they have done for every other fighter. And they had to
someone
give Brock
needed
Lesnar
to
an
save the
exception.
money on that card.
Yeah, someone had to
Okay,
save
yeah,
it.
no, for sure. I completely understand that, but do you not believe that that's kind of unfair?
Yeah, I mean,
It's extremely unfair.
I mean,
but-
not even kind of extremely,
water.
especially when it's someone as biblically gigantic as Brock Lesnar. It's like a joke. Like you're on one hand, you have people that can't even use TRT anymore, and I'm not saying that like they
Wait, what's TRT?
testosterone replacement
Yeah.
therapy.
Okay, well, you could have just called it
Lawrence,
testosterone.
Everyone who watches the UFC,
You
knows
could
what
have
TRT
called
is.
it testosterone.
Okay, sorry. So on one hand, you don't even have that, and then you allow someone just because they're a massive star, just because they're going to bring in people.
Well, he's massive.
To be like
Are
massive.
you gonna say no
size
to him?
and-
There's a difference between
Yeah,
telling
you
John.
gonna-
You're
you're
gonna
gonna sit
you're
there
gonna
and be
walk
like,
in and
What's
be
next?
like,
If Obama takes steroids and then he's like, I want to fight in a fight, are they gonna be like, sure, go ahead?
he's the size of Brock
If
Lesnar.
he
then
looks
yes!
like Brock Lesnar. Yes.
That's
I'm
the
not
world.
saying Brock Lesnar is a fantastic athlete just because of steroids.
No,
I'm just saying let's not forget.
Let's not
that
forget
is
the
a-
environment.
That is.
The environment is.
It is important.
For a really boring and awful night of
Yeah,
fights.
this is all the
These
fans
are
that
the other
came
thing we
over.
have
I've never
here.
had more of a blast.
They are-
Not watching the television.
They're not happy. We put on a nice live watch party
What an
because
absolute blast.
the
Thanks,
last-
guys. See you,
See you guys.
whatever.
not happy with it. So Brock Lesnar's fight in general, right? It works obviously at the ground and pound.
Alright, let's just
How do you
wrap
get
it up.
laid in this room? Like, no
Because I have the fan on usually.
Did you?
Why don't you have it on now?
Oh, you're just gone. Right.
Yeah.
So, in terms of his fighting style, he took him to the ground. Mark Hunt is an incredible striker, but Mark Hunt just didn't look interested in getting inside. It's a 9-inch difference reach between both
He
of them.
has to get in the pocket.
You have to try and get inside to try and at least land something. He looked like he was tired after being trying. I watched it for a little bit and I was telling everyone I don't think there's a worse place on earth than being underneath Brock Lesnar.
No.
When there's no way you're getting up, you need to rely on the referee. And I think that it was an easy win for him. But the overarching theme of this, right? I may piss some
Was a
people off.
terrible card.
It was a terrible
It was
card.
a terrible,
It
terrible
was
card.
I'm more looking forward to Robbie Lawler's card, and it just makes me even more excited, not just for my fandom for McGregor Diaz, but I know what we're going to see in that fight, and I cannot wait for it. And Conor McGregor probably is sitting laughing. You see he was very active, he was trolling them. He's probably laughing because he could have saved that card. I mean, I don't think it was ever feasible for him to do it, but that card, without John Jones, was not very enjoyable.
That card, even with John Jones, included bad fights, unexciting UFC events, things that were pretty much predictable given what was in front of you. And all I can say is that UFC's 190 through 199, I would take any single one of those over
Okay, but
UFC
don't you think
200.
this is really... Okay, so here's a question I have for both of you guys. This is a historic card, right? UFC's come a very long way from...
It's a historic card,
being-
but I want to wrap up and go out because it's my Saturday night.
I'm just
Hasan.
saying, look, this is the final question I have for you. And you're going to go to
for
fucking
it.
Busby's anyway.
I'm not going to go
Son
to
of a bitch.
Busby's.
He's
I
gonna go
might
play
go
arcade.
to...
He's going to go
I
play video
might!
He's going to go play video games in the
You
room.
notice when a couple of beers come in,
Right.
Jason's
Anyway,
volume.
I know. He starts yelling a lot. It's really
That's
weird.
on you.
The New
You
York,
anger me.
the New
You
York,
anger
the New
me.
York comes in.
Yeah, he's
But
got
okay,
a Mets hat
I
on.
agree. I
Let's
agree
see.
with what
No,
you're saying.
look,
This
this
was
is
a
important. This is
nostalgic.
important.
It was
This
a
is-
nostalgic card.
No, not a
Yeah, but
nostalgic.
nostalgia
No,
doesn't mean
this is a
shit when the
historic-
fights are garbage.
No, this is a historic card, okay? Like this was supposed to be the change in tide and like
It
the attitude
proves-
change,
it
highlighting the attitude change in
proves-
UFC from when you compare it to like UFC
100. Yeah.
100
Yeah.
was a 30 times better of a card than this one.
Okay, but that's bad, especially when we're talking. I mean, UFC hasn't been sold yet, obviously, right? Or did it
No.
already get
No,
sold? Like
no,
they
it
were
will
talking
be.
about a $4.5 billion valuation, like a massive
Still
sale.
gonna be valued
but then
that
you
much.
look at UFC women's, and you don't have like this door busting blockbuster like ultimate champion type of person that I personally believe that the sport needs on both of the sides.
Yeah,
like
fair.
they need like a Conor McGregor and a Ronda
I
Rousey.
agree.
They've never. I'm worried that
I'm
it's
not.
not going to be as
I
interesting.
think that's like I hate that argument from people in general. That people think
No,
like,
they
oh,
won't.
I'm worried about the UFC.
No, they'll-
This was a terrible card. I can say that out loud. But UFC 201, 202, 203, 204 could all be better than this card.
Yeah,
easily.
I agree.
UFC 202 will be better than this card.
I think the one point
Even though I shouldn't be
I agree
watching.
with both. I agree with both of you on this. But one thing that has always really impressed me about UFC is the fact that the organization chooses the fighters based on the hunger, right, and based on the
Right.
attraction to it, and it's refreshing because we're boxing fans, right? And
Oh,
boxing
God.
fans goes through
Don't get me
the
started.
protocol. I'm finally getting a fight I want to see with Gennady Golovkin versus Kell Brook. I've been waiting for Kell Brook to fight Amir Khan
But it
for
should
years.
be
It never happened.
But it should be Golovkin versus.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So what's refreshing about the UFC is the fact that
They
Dana
make fights
White,
happen.
yeah, Dana White and obviously the organization will try to make fights happen. It doesn't always go the way it should based on merit, but that's refreshing because in boxing, promoters are pretty bad people most of the time, and they
Oh,
try to
they're
make
not
things
after.
work, and they try to do backdoor deals all for the money. And it's not saying that this isn't for the money,
except
but I love.
but in the end of the day, they make more money for their fighters than they would at the UFC.
Oh, it's actually not even close.
it's not, but that's the difference.
like I mean, like for boxers make it like.
I feel like
Floyd
in the-
Mayweather gets paid.
yeah,
Yeah, but
I
that's
feel
what
like
I'm
that-
saying.
Golovkin, but that's not. But
That's
that's
a
but
historic-
that's a very specific fighter case is Mayweather.
yeah.
Like the way the UFC's going, I would bet that the UFC will make more money for their fighters in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah,
than boxing
even-
will.
they're on that. They're on the
Then
fast
boxing
track.
will,
They're on the
yes.
fast track to success. But I'm saying that the fighters look hungrier to get in front. Like, is it most of the time it's the promoters that often decide whether or not Gennady Golovkin's going to fight Kell Brook or Gennady Golovkin's going to fight this guy. That's why for years Pacquiao and Mayweather went back and forth until we were all pulling our hair out because it was all discussed on money. Like that's one thing I always will give UFC credit for is usually. When it comes to a card, you're getting your money's worth because there's a lot
Yes.
of good fighters packed
I
into
will
that
agree.
card. There's
I
a lot of
will-
good fights packed into it. This one was disappointing. There was good fights on paper. I was looking forward to Edgar Aldo
Aldo
more
too, yeah.
than anything else. But it's just the way the fight, the strategies were a little different than what we expected. And I'm not going to be that neutral fan, but it's like, I hate this. I want people just beating the shit out of each other.
No.
But I just was, I was a little let down.
This card was a letdown. There's
Yeah.
really no way around that. It was a letdown. You can check Twitter. You can check the mass public opinion. It was a letdown. Now, comment below before I let you even get to another question.
I'm just gonna say
because somebody's got to actually edit this clip, and it's not you.
Do you think?
Fuck off!
Do you
Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the video.
I'm out.
Francis _ Maxwell at JSuper91 at Hasan.
I was squatting the entire time.